Ano yung pakit? Hindi ko nga. Masarap man. Kasi ikaw ang magluto. Dala na ako ng trabaho natin. Ano bang pagkatamad ninyo? Nani? Irapak natin. At least sure ka na makita mo lang ang ano mo kung magkano. Pwede ko natin yan. I don't know. Okay na? Sir. Hello, sir. Sir, send ko na yung yung link. Yung sa link sa UPTA. Kita mo, sir? Naghugas.
Ate Aya.
Naghugas siya ngayon? Wow, sinipag.
Matagalog.
Nagluto?
Hugas. Nandito ako ngayon. Huwag ako magluto sa maghugas. Okay.
only by logically.
Good evening, everyone. Ano po? Okay, did you hear me po? Ano po? Good evening po, Sir Randy. Good evening po sa lahat, elders, brothers, and sisters. Okay. Before we formally start our session for tonight, let us sing together our Chinelgok anthem. Okay. Ay, wala siya. Okay. Okay, for the opening prayer, please join me in prayer. 사랑하시는 하나님, 천진 잠봉님, 감사합니다, 사랑합니다. Most loving heavenly parents, those true parents of heaven, earth, and all humankind. Father in heaven, we're so much blessed and grateful, Father in heaven, for this fruitful day that you gave to us as we start our session for tonight, Father. We hope and pray, Father, that we could be able to really open our hearts and minds, Father in heaven, to really feel your presence, Father in heaven, especially to our precious lecturers and speakers, Father, for tonight. Hope and pray, Father, through this guidance, Father in heaven, through this session for tonight, Father in heaven, we could be really shared your hearts and words, Father in heaven, so that we could be able to really share this to those brothers and sisters who really wants understand deeply, Father, your hearts. Thank you so much for everything. As we humbly offer and report this prayer in behalf of our leaders, in the parents' name, Jew. Good evening po sa lahat. Welcome po for tonight. Ano po si Ma'am
Good evening po.
Okay po. Then, picture po muna tayo. Let's have picture. Pa-open po ng cameras po. So, Julius at LC. And then si Ma'am Jane Rose po. Ma'am Sylvia, Ma'am Tere. Opo. Yan. Ate Sylvia. Friends. Okay na po. Ay. Picture pa po yata si Julius. Okay na po? Sige. Kay Julius. Okay, wala pa siya. Okay, let's have our small heart brothers and sisters. One. Okay. Okay, once. 1, 2, 3, smile. And then, wala pa siya. Okay, nawala pa siya. So, wait lang po. Ay, okay po siya. So, mama, thank you so much po. Later po, magana tayo ulit pictures. So, ay, good evening po sa lahat once, sa lahat
Andyan si
po.
Ate Sylvia, oh. Ulitin natin para ano.
Ay, okay. Ito. So, ito, ano yung computer ko. Okay. Ulit po tayo. Small heart brothers and sisters. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more po. Vision 2027. Sungni, sungni, sungni. Yan po. Thank you so much po. Okay. For tonight po, I would like to welcome po Sir Jan Baston. Welcome po Kuya for your presence po, Ma'am Tere, Ma'am Sylvia, Sir Julius, then Ate Elsie, Ma'am Jane, and then Sir Randy po. Welcome po for tonight's session po. So, if wala pa po si Ate Abigail. For the first lecture po, supposed to be it's Abigail. And then, hindi po yata si Abigail.
Ma'am Mons, pakilala mo na si Sir Jan. Introduce mo na si Sir Jan. Tapos ano.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much po. So, welcome po Sir Jan. Please introduce yourself po. Welcome.
Ano po yung particular na information po?
Ano po kuya, name niyo po, and then blessing order, and then region po. Yan po.
Current mission and kung ilan po
Yes.
yung anak. Ano po. Kahit brief lang na history.
Okay. My precious brothers and sisters, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. My name is Jan Kumpesto Bastol, 49 years old. Blessing order, 360,000 couples blessing. My wife, Lisa Jane Bastol. Yan. I have 3 children, 22, 20, 19. Yan. Yuki, Yumi, Yuchun. Okay. And I joined our church in 1990. My spiritual birthday is September 1990. And currently, I am the OIC regional leader of Soksargen, Region 12. Yeah, I've been a missionary since I met our true parents, starting from Carpuan Bado before. Then after graduation, I moved to full-time life. I was assigned in Peronis department, and then that's it. Continuously, I'm just missionary. Ano na po? Ano pa? Yan lang? Ano pa ba?
Motivation why you joined here.
Ano pa yan?
Motivation why you joined and commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, when Ate Tere invite me to join UPTA, and then I asked a little about what's UPTA. And then I learned that this is, I think for me, in my understanding, this is somewhat a training to give lectures, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. But from that motivation, I said it's very crucial to God's providence. We must know how to give lecture properly, and of course multiply. And I am committed when it comes to, in line with the mission. As long as we can use it for God's providence, then we will try, no? We'll try. Although andun yung agam-agam kasi sobrang busy talaga din, no? Especially sa DepEd. Tuloy-tuloy ang mga meetings na every day may ginagawa sa DepEd. So medyo na-challenge. But then, sanay na kasi tayo din. No? And I hope also that brothers and sisters also can understand. Sometimes, for example, medyo madubli tayo sa mga schedules like this. Mayroon tayong leaders meeting 7:30. Yan. So medyo multitasking tayo. But then I said, no, everything is for God, no? For true parents and for our brothers and sisters. We can sacrifice, we can extend our sacrifices so that we can serve them. We can serve our brothers and sisters. So, of course, my expectation also that I can at least improve my lecturing ability, something like that. So, okay. So, thank you so much for inviting me here, and I promise to really, serious to go with you, and I will finish. So, makaya na ko. Tapos na ko ni siya na course. Thank you.
Thank you so much po, Sir Jan po, and welcome po. Feel at home po, Kuya. So, yun po. For this evening po, we'll have our first lecturer for tonight. Diyan ba sa TLC? Sa TLC? Mahina po internet mo.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Wala si Abigail.
wala po siya, ate. So, tonight po, our first lecturer, let's welcome po Ate Elsie Providencia. She will give lecture part 1, chapter 1, section 1 po. Welcome, Ate Elsie.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Let
Good
me.
evening.
Good evening, Brad. I wait. I try to share my presentation. Mag-practice na ako mag-share ng presentation ko kasi para dili kayo abala ba. Wait lang. Saglit lang po. Present. Oops. Kita po ba?
Yes po, ate.
Chapter 1, manual to eh. Dito PowerPoint sa PDF. Kinonvert ko sa PDF. Kasi hindi, sa cellphone, hindi accepted sa Zoom, ang PowerPoint.
Yes.
Narinig mo yung background ko? Kumakanta yung
Okay na po, ate.
Music ate.
Ini-cheer up niya ako eh. Oh, go, go, mami, no? Diyan ka lang ha. Nasa duyan siya eh. Ilagay ko sa duyan sa ko. Okay, good evening, brothers and sisters. Our topic for today is Divine Principle, Chapter 1, the Principle of Creation. But first, I would like to read our learning objectives. Number 1, discuss the principle of creation. Realize the purpose of creation. Number 3, participate in an ideal relationship. Number 4, represent human original value. 5, identify the process of creation and its growing period. And number 6, correlate in corporeal and corporeal world. Okay, chapter 1, the principle of creation. Okay, let's start. Throughout history, people have anguished over, hindi ko pala na share ang aking slides. Okay, wait. Dito pa ako. Sorry, hindi ko na share agad. So throughout history, people have anguished over the fundamental questions of human life and the universe without arriving at satisfying answers. This is because no one has understood the root principle by which humanity and the universe were originally created. To approach this topic, hirap pala nitong mag-share ka tapos magbasa, no? Joke. Wait. Bear with me. Okay. To approach this topic properly, it is not enough to examine consultant reality. Dali ako, ipakuha ko lang yung baby. To approach this topic properly, it is not enough to examine resultant reality. The fundamental questions is that of the causal reality and problem concerning human life and the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. So, ito po yung para natin maintindihan si God, ang na-distract ako sa anak ko. Okay. Dali, pakuha ko lang ha. Wait lang. Doon ka muna kay Daddy. Okay, to approach this topic properly, it is not enough to examine resultant reality. The fundamental question is that of the causal reality. So problems concerning human life and the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. To begin, let's discuss chapter 1, section 1, the dual characteristic of God and the universe and the created universe. Okay, how can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? So one way to fathom his deity is by observing the universe which he created. In Rome 120, saying that every wait, it is recorded in Rome 120. Ever since the creations of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. So everything in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of the creator invisible divine nature. So just as we can come to know the characteristic of an artist, so his work, so we can understand the nature of God. Observing by observing the diverse elements of creation. Actually, ito yung mga tanong lagi sa tao. Kung totoo bang may Diyos, totoo bang may God, no? Kasi ang iba nga hindi sila naniwala na may Diyos. And they are thinking kung totoo ba talagang may Diyos. So, but even the Bible, no, it's recorded in the Bible na ever since the creations of the world is invisible nature. So, kung question yan, like for example, tinatanong nila kung may Diyos ba. So, like for example, sa tao, no? Minsan tinatanong natin kung di ba nakikita ba natin yung mind natin, yung our mind, kung nakikita ba natin, hindi natin nakikita. Pero kung titingnan mo, from our thoughts, it becomes words and action. So, napaka ano talaga na minsan hindi natin maintindihan, pero even us, tayo mismo, na from our mind, hindi natin nakikita ang mind natin. But kung mayroon tayong gagawin na through the manifestation, like we do something good, then that is the resemblance of God. Diba? So everything in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of the creator invisible divine nature. So as we can come to know the characteristic of an artist, like sa artist, no, yung painter. So yung imagination niya start from the mind. So di nakikita ng iba. But then when he start painting, tapos nakikita na yung paint, start from the mind niya, na substantialize niya yung kanyang imagination na pinipintura niya, then that's the moment na nakakuha siya ng, nakikita ng tao yung galing sa mind niya, no? Okay, so next. Let's begin by pointing out the common element which are found universal throughout the natural world. Every entity possesses dual characteristics of yang and yin, positive and negative, and comes into existence only when these characteristics have formed reciprocal relationship both within the entity and between it and other entities. So isa din sa mga characteristics, no? The dual characteristics of God is yung positive and negative, or yang and yin. Okay? For instance, atoms display either a positive or a negative valence. Plants propagate by means of stamen and pistil, and animals multiply and maintain their species through the relationship between the males and female. And then finally, human beings also are composed of men and women. So these are the dual characteristics, no, na kung makikita natin, God has dual characteristic according sa creation niya. So even sa sa mga animals, sa mga tanom, no? And finally sa human being, no, may babae at lalaki. So okay, next. However, there is another more fundamental pair of a dual characteristic in reciprocal relationship. In every entity possess both outer form and inner quality. Okay, so hindi lang yung ibig sabihin yung characteristics, yung dual characteristic in reciprocal relationship in every entity, both outer form and inner quality. Okay, next. So the visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality, and the inner quality called internal nature, and the outer form or shape is called external form. Since internal nature and external form refer to corresponding inner and outer aspects of the same entity, the internal form may also be understood as the second internal nature. Therefore, internal nature and external form together constitute a dual characteristic. Okay. Let's take let us take human being as an example. So a human being composed of an outer form, the body, and the inner quality, the mind. No? Yung outer form niya, yung katawan natin, and the inner quality is our mind. The body is visible. Ito na yung reflection, no, of the invisible mind. Yung sinasabi ko kanina na di natin makikita ang mind natin, but then our body is visible, and then if we do goodness, we do good in accordance with the dual characteristic of God, and it comes into manifestation, no? At maano natin, ma-reflect natin na God has a dual characteristics between mind and, the dual characteristic of mind and body. So an outer form, which is the body, and the inner quality is the mind. The body is visible reflections of an invisible mind because the mind possesses a certain structure of the body, which reflect it also takes a particular appearance. This is the idea behind person, character, and destiny being perceived through examining his outward appearance by such methods of physiognomy or palm reading. So the mind is the internal nature, and the body is the external form. Okay, so the mind and body are two correlative aspects. The mind and the body are two correlative aspects of human being. Hence, the body may be understood as a second mind. Then together, They constitute the dual characteristics of human being. Similarly, all beings exist through the reciprocal relationship between the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form. And all created beings, regardless of their level of complexity, possess an intangible nature, internal nature, which corresponds to the human mind, and tangible external form, which corresponds to the human body. Within each being, the internal nature, with its causal and subjective commands the external form. This relationship allows the individual being to exist and function purposefully as a creation of God. Okay, then we have explained, no, that all God's creations share the dual characteristics of yang and yin, and internal nature and external form. So then how does God, the origin, exist? So the first cause must also possess the dual characteristic of internal and external form, which stand in the position of subject partner to to the internal nature and external form of all beings. So we call this first cause of the universe God, and we call God's internal nature and external form the original internal nature and original external form. It is only natural to surmise that God, the first cause of all things, also exists based on the reciprocal relationship between his dual characteristics of yang and yin. The verse, so God created man and his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. In Genesis 1:27. And support that the idea that God is a subject partners with dual characteristics of yang and yin in perfect harmony. So the principle talks about dual characteristics. Why are dual characteristics necessary? Without them, with, without them, harmony within creation is unattainable. So giving and receiving is possible through dual characteristic. One side is like bone and the other like flesh. New form arise through their reciprocity. So kailangan talaga. That's the reason why God created us. Positive and negative and dual characteristics, male and female. So, and also giving and receiving. I heard some, I remember one of my elder before. This is just an example. If we only, if our is only one side lang daw, hindi daw mag-exist ang universe. So there will be always, no, a dual, no, nag-represent even nga sa ano natin ngayon, sa science and religion, kailangan talaga parallel. And even the dual characteristics of God, lagi yan mayroong katandem para magkaroon ng ano. For example, tayo, no, from start from inhale and exhale. Subukan natin lagi lang tayo mag-exhale. So, when we are breathing, there is always inhale and exhale. So, wala talagang puro inhale lang. Wala rin pwedeng exhale lang. So, kailangan mag-inhale, exhale. Otherwise, we will die. Okay, so since God is the dual characteristic itself, The world as his object partner must come into being. Dual characteristics, therefore, are needed to achieve the beauty of creation. Okay, so people are God's substantial object partner at the level of image. Yet God is omnipresent. Do you feel God within your lives? Okay, actually, as we all know that God is a God of love, diba? God is an unconditional God. So, He created human beings, particularly human beings, no? Suppose, no? And then, we, as we know that we are the image of God, then we're supposed to be like God. God is omnipresent and also God of love, and then absolute, unchanging. But anyway, later on, we will discuss about why. No, why? Gods appear as a place where there is stimulus. Father told us, hit your leg as hard as possible with your hand. It must hurt. No, this is the evidence that your mind exists everywhere inside your body. As our mind appears where there is stimulus, God also appears where there is stimulus. No, if we do not look for God through prayer, spiritually conditioned, or calling, His will not respond and will have no connection whatsoever with us. That is why we must always pray a heart wide awake. So that's why, no, this is very important, no, for us to uh, feel the presence of God. So we need to pray. So meditating, no, and then invite the presence of God. So you feel God, no, in every time you pray. The only moment you can feel God. So through meditation and prayer. So kaya it's very important na we have to pray, because if we don't pray, we cannot meet God. We cannot understand what is the nature of God by having a connection. So mayroon namang ibang tao na sinasabi na when I meet you, when I see you, I can see God with you, to you. But yung ibang tao sinasabi na pag once nakikita nila yung goodness sa'yo, then they look at you as God manifestation. And then, but then, minsan mga tao hindi makakita, no, na uh, example, na resemblance ni God. Minsan, yun na nga yung frustration ng iba na, totoo ba talaga na may God? Dahil alam mo ang paligid, no, parang walang God. Kasi nag-aaway dito, chismis dito, away dito, conflict dito. And then, ito yung mga question lagi ng tao na kung may God ba. Kasi hindi naman yun ang image na na-imagine natin na God. But then, actually, you can feel God. Despite of our situation, sometimes desperado na tayo na ma-feel. Wala tayong makikitang resemblance si God sa paligid natin. Within us, no, we can meet God through prayer, through spiritual condition, or calling God. He will not respond. We'll have no connection. No, we whatsoever with us. That is why we must always pray. We really need to pray. Okay. Next. What is the relationship between the dual characteristic of internal nature and external form? The dual characteristics of yang and yin. So God, original nature, and original external form, it's contained the mutual relationship of yang and of original yang and original yin. Therefore, Original yang and original yin are attributes of original internal nature and original external form. Okay, wait. Nawala. For example, in a person, internal nature has yang aspect and yin aspect. Its yang aspect includes memory, clarity, pleasure, joy, excitement, activity, and its yang aspect includes forgetfulness, ambiguity, displeasure, sadness, calmness, and passivity. So external form also has yang aspect and yin aspect. Its yang aspect includes projection, convexity, and outer surface. And its yin aspect includes hollowness, concavity, and inner inside. Okay, so God is the subject in whom the dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form are harmony. So as we can see, no, God is the subject in whom the dual characteristics of original nature and original external form are harmony. So kaya napaka kung titingnan natin, no, God is a holy, no? Holy God. Kasi you just imagine this, God is the subject in whom the dual characteristics of original nature, original internal nature, and the original external form are in harmony. At the same time, God is the harmonious union, masculinity and femininity, which manifests the quality of original nature and original external form, respectively. So in relation to the universe, God is the subject partner having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity. And recognitions of God's position as the internal masculine subject partner, we call him our Father. So actually, if we really understand, no, internalize this, uh, who is God is. So mafe-feel ano mo talaga, no? Ang ganda, no? Ang ganda ng God is a holy. God is a God of love, harmony. God is a God of unity. Okay, so these are the nature of God. Okay. Okay. God has two different aspects within him, according to Reverend Moon words. First, reciprocity, when the subject-object partners engage and give and take action, the God of love's affairs. Second, the number, such as 12, 4, 21, 40, which are needed to perfect human being, represent the God of order and God of science. So the first reciprocity with the subject and object partners engage in give and take action. No, the God of love appear. If you have a reciprocity when the subject, object partner engage, no, nagkaroon ng harmonious relationship and proper give and take action. So God of love appears. And the second is the number, no? The number 12, actually number 12 represents the significant number, no? According to the Bible, and even according to the some history, no? The 12, number 12 is the 12 disciple of Jesus. And also, number 4, it represents the four position foundation. And also the 21 years of Jacob course. And also 40, it also significant numbers of the 40 years of wilderness during the time of Moses, which are needed to perfect human beings. So ito yung mga number na to is very significant even based on the Bible. Okay, so next, God is the invisible subject partners and the universe as a whole is a substantial object partners to God. In accordance to the principle of creation, God's dual characteristics manifest themselves symbolically or in image as individual embodiment of truth, which constitute the universe. Since the individual embodiment of truth are all substantial object partners to God, resembling his original internal nature and original external form, they each possess within themselves both internal nature and external form, and likewise both yang and yin. Okay, so individual embodiments of truth are discrete manifestations of the dual characteristics of God. For example, people, animals, plants, minerals, a grain of sand, and a blade of grass. Okay, so human beings are object partners of God, embodied at the level of image. And the rest of creations are object partners embodied at the level of symbol. These object partners are called the embodiment of truth in image and symbol. So, nakakaano, uh, ano no? Nakaka ang ganda no? If we really study more about God, we will really understand no, how beautiful created how beautiful the creation made by God. So this is the original creation of God. So ito yung original why God created the universe and even human being. Okay, so that's will be all for my presentation, section 1. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much po, TLC Providencia, for that very profound and about lectures po for tonight. So, before we proceed for our question and comment po, let's watch together the let's watch together po the chapter 1 from Reverend Philip Shankar po. Okay, allow me to share my screen. Takes 31 minutes. Okay, let's watch together.
Throughout history, people have anguished over these fundamental questions with the principle of creation. We begin from those fundamental questions about human life and the universe. Throughout history, people have anguished over these fundamental questions. This is because no one has fully understood the root principle, the blueprint by which humanity and the universe were originally created. To approach this topic properly, it is not enough for us to simply examine the resultant reality, the world that we can measure externally. The proper way to address this, the fundamental question, is that of the causal reality. Problems concerning human life and the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. So section 1 is the dual characteristics of God and the created universe. To begin with, we have to ask, how can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? As you know, there are some who deny God's existence based on the fact that we can't see him, can't touch him, can't encounter him physically, and can't measure. But this in itself is not legitimate, because there are many things in our life that we cannot see, and yet we understand their existence because we see their result. Gravity, for example. We can't see gravity working, but we know what happens as a result. And so by observing the effect, we understand the cause and understand the law of gravity. Similarly, my mind. Now, you can't see my mind, but I hope you'll give me the benefit of the doubt that I have one, because I'm expressing my thoughts, feelings, passion, ideas in the way that it's coming out of my physical body. So again, you see the effect and you understand the invisible cause. So it's not legitimate to deny God's existence simply because we can't measure, see, touch, or experience with our physical senses. In fact, by definition, if we're seeking to understand the first cause of the created world, the world that exists in time and space, then would that cause the world that's defined by time and space, would that cause be within time or be the origin of time itself? Would that cause be within space, or would space be within God? Therefore, I think you know the answer. Therefore, we say that God is infinite, not finite, beyond space. It doesn't simply mean that God is everywhere. It actually means that God is not defined by a specific location within the limited realm of space. And we say God is eternal. That doesn't just mean that God is always here for all time, but beyond time, without being defined by a beginning point and an end point within the limited realm of time, which is a facet of the visible world. So how can we then know the divine nature of the invisible God? Well, one way to fathom God's deity is by observing the universe that he created. Just as we come to know the character of an artist through his works, let's look more closely. So we can understand the nature of God by observing the diverse things of the creation. For example, in the plays of Shakespeare, we find a diversity of topics, but common themes that run throughout these plays. The struggle between men and women, the battle between good and evil, the imagery of light versus dark. Now, these themes are consistently running through all of the plays and tell us something about the nature of the author. And if we find recurrent themes that are expressed in every single form of life, from simple to complex, will it not tell us something about the author of life? Likewise, look at the paintings by Van Gogh. You look at 10 paintings, you could recognize the characteristic style of the artist, even though the subject matter is different, because the style reflects the artist's passion, emotion, and inner nature. So just as we can understand Van Gogh by his paintings, or Shakespeare by his writings, we can understand something about the creator, the cause, by looking at the world he created, the visible effect. Therefore, St. Paul wrote in Romans 1:20, ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power, his deity, his godlike nature, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. So let's look first then at the common elements in the natural world. We'll begin by pointing out these elements that are found universally in all things. Every entity, first of all, possesses the dual characteristics of yang and yin, or as we would say in the West, positivity and negativity. More fundamentally, however, every entity also possesses another set of dual characteristics, that of outer form and inner quality. Now, the visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality. The inner quality is called internal nature, while the shape or structure is called our external form. Now, when we say that the inner and outer aspect is more fundamental, let's look at human beings. Before you are a man or a woman, you are more fundamentally human. And our human personality differentiates us from animals, plants, or any other living thing. Human personality arises from the inner nature, our thoughts, feelings, character, conscience, and how we express that in our visible form. So masculinity and femininity are attributes or expressions of human personality. And of course, every man, every woman has elements of both. A man is not all masculine, a woman is not all feminine. These are two essences that are harmonized within each. For this reason, we can tell a lot about a person by reading their face or their body language and how they sit or express themselves, or even being able to evaluate things in their hand or the lumps on their head or how their body expresses itself, because the body expresses the inner nature of the mind. So the internal nature and external form together constitute dual characteristics. Now let's look at every form of life in the universe in general. Let's look more closely at this. When we go to the most simple forms of life, particles, here on your left. Particles exist as either positive, negative, or neutral because they have both elements within them. They make an electronic magnetic relationship to form the basis of atoms. Atoms then form an electrochemical relationship by sharing an electron with another atom to form the basis of molecules. Molecules form electrochemical relationships to form the basis of matter. Matter arises, and we see in the plant kingdom the dual characteristics of stamen and pistil, or sporophyte, gametophyte. Coming up to animal life, we find that all animals express masculinity, male and female. Even animals that reproduce asexually have both aspects within one body. Even cells, which reproduce by splitting, dividing through mitosis. That process is initiated by the give and take relationship of positive and negative elements within the nucleus. And then we come, of course, to human beings who have masculine and feminine as the foundation of our existence and reproduction and life. So we can see in every form of life, from simple to complex, this expression of the dual characteristics of masculinity and femininity, or positivity and negativity. Two equally valuable, yet complementary aspects that allow for the existence and life of each being. Now, when we consider, again, from the other set of dual characteristics, character and form, when we look at energy in its most fundamental level, Einstein, in his theory of relativity, showed us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It has always been here, but it can change its state, and energy is the basis of matter. However, energy doesn't act at random, out of chaos, but the development of life is the process of energy becoming more ordered, more directed, more organized and developed. So energy seems to act according to a lawful and principled nature. There's some inherent directive aspect that governs how life develops in the universe. When we look at matter, which is composed of energy, once again, we see in the laws of chemistry and physics that each of the elements in the periodic table acts and reacts according to its unique nature. Now, when we see these atoms and molecules come together and forming higher forms of life, such as plants, plants act also according to a lawful directive element within them. For example, the roots will always grow toward the water. The leaves will always follow the sun. Yet we can't cut open a plant, pull out the law, and now the plant is going to be unclear and undirected. The plant's mind, or its lawful nature, is inherent within the nature of the plant. Likewise, animals. Let's consider closely. Likewise, animals are governed by their animal mind, which is primarily based upon instinct. And human beings have all of these elements. Human beings have all of these elements, And yet we also have a deeper aspect of our mind. We have self-awareness. We have a moral capacity to evaluate good and evil. We recognize the moral law and are conscious of our relationship with the larger universe. Our conscience is the basis of the human mind. So once again, from simple to complex, we see that there is a consistent pattern that every single entity exists with these two sets of dual characteristics. Now let's consider the relationship between God's internal nature and external form and God's original masculinity and femininity. God's original internal nature and original external form each contain the expressions or attributes of original masculinity and original femininity. Similarly, when we look at human beings, we could understand that within our mind there are masculine and feminine natures, such as initiating and dominating and guiding versus nurturing and listening and reflecting, etc. Also, in our physical selves, there are masculine and feminine attributes. Within God, therefore, original yang and original yin, original masculinity and femininity are attributes of his original nature and his original external form. Now, within the first cause, God's original internal nature must contain the essences of all the law, principle, plant, inner natures of everything in the universe. And God's original external form must contain the essence of all the matter in the universe, which is itself energy. Likewise, within the Creator, there must be the essence of all the masculine natures in the universe, as well as all the feminine natures in the universe. Now, the masculinity and femininity within the Creator is not some strange or foreign concept, but actually, in the Bible, in Genesis 1:27, it is stated clearly, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. So, man is not just males, but man is male and female in the image of God. Well, let's stay here. So, to summarize, we can say that God is the subject and the harmonious union of these natures of inner and outer, inner nature and external form. Likewise, God is the harmonious union of masculinity and femininity, which are manifestations or attributes of the qualities of his character and form, respectively. Now, God stands as the subject partner toward the universe, having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity or subjectivity in relationship with the universe, which responds to God and has the more external aspect or is feminine in response to God. This is the only reason we can justify calling God He or calling God our Father, because while containing both masculine and feminine natures, the position that God takes is the initiating, subject, and internal position, or the masculine position in relationship to the universe. Now, the relationship between God and the universe can be summarized, therefore, thusly. God is the invisible subject partner, and the universe as a whole is an object to God, an object partner. According to the principle of creation, God's dual characteristics manifest themselves in the universe either symbolically or in image as individual embodiments of truth, which constitute the universe. In other words, God expresses himself in his image and likeness, human beings, or symbolically in the rest of the natural world. Let me explain. Every existing being is created reflecting the nature of God with character and form manifested masculine and feminine. These two sets of dual characteristics. This is universal, all forms of life. It's for that reason that when we want to understand our own structure and function in biology class, we will cut open a frog or some other animal to analyze the systems that are more simple versions of what has developed into us, because life develops according to this consistent principle. Now, when we say human beings are in image and the rest of the natural world are symbolic in nature, please consider this. When a hyena laughs, he hasn't just heard a joke. You've heard of a laughing hyena, but he's not laughing at something that's funny, nor does he understand something being funny. Or more specific, but only symbolizes that element that we can relate to. Another good example would be if you would see a graceful swan gliding through the water, extending its neck like a ballet dancer, next to an ugly duckling, wah, 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 going back and forth. Now, externally, one looks graceful and with repose and calm and beauty, while the other has a different external expression. But in fact, inside them, they are governed by the same instinctive desire 24 hours a day to find food. The swan is not actually being graceful, thinking gracefully, etc., but symbolizes that fact. In another sense, when we look at the winter sky, in winter when the trees are barren, when the sky has become gray, when the cold winds blow, there's a feeling of desolation and loneliness and reflection and depth that's evoked within ourselves as human beings. But the trees aren't lonely. The sky isn't sad. The natural world is only symbolically reflecting these qualities. But you and I as human beings, we feel them. We understand them. We can connect to them. That's why our relationship with the divine nature of our Creator is one where we can pray. We can reflect on these things. We can respond and relate to the nature of God. Let's say one final word about God's nature. What can we say about his inner nature? Well, the Bible tells us that God is a righteous God, a loving God, a long-suffering God, a patient God, etc., etc. But by looking at the textbook of the universe, we can also understand the nature of the Creator by the world that he has made. What is it that allowed chaos to become cosmos? The foundation for this cosmos is that everything has order. There's order. Why is there order? Because everything follows law. And behind these laws are purpose, value, and productivity. So there's principle behind these laws. Order, law, and principle is the foundation for the cosmos. As life arises, we see higher qualities of beauty, truth, and goodness. When we come to the animal world, we see love. But not just the instinctual love that we find in animals. When we come to the human form of life, we find the spiritual capacity to be bonded even after our loved ones have long passed away. The spiritual capacity of heart and love. And when we consider the laws of the universe, they aren't voted on periodically. They are eternal, unchanging, and absolute. Likewise, the true definition of beauty, truth, or goodness is that which is eternally true and universally true. And also the love we seek has the quality of being lasting and eternal. So when we look at the universe, we can recognize the expression of the nature of its creator, a God of order, law, and principle, beauty, truth, and goodness, love and heart, and a God who is eternal, unchanging, unique, and absolute. Now, let's consider Section 2, Universal Prime Energy, Give and Take Action, and the 4-Position Foundation. More about the structure, the laws, and the functionality of the universe. First, Universal Prime Energy. God, the creator of all things, is the absolute reality, not just a God that we evoke whenever we try to explain a mystery, but the essence of life, at the heart of the way life operates and its character and nature. God is eternal, self-existent, and as we've discussed, transcendent of time and space. Now, therefore, the energy for God's existence, the fundamental energy of God's own being, must be absolute, eternal, and self-existent. Because the first cause exists with dual characteristics, that's the foundation, through give and take, for God's own power and existence. But not only is this energy the foundation for God's existence, it is the origin of all energies and forces that allow created beings to exist. We call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. Prime because it's the initial, original force, and universal because it's the energy that allows all beings to be sustained. Now let's consider how this fundamental force relates to the relationality
Okay, that's okay. Thank you so much po. So, ay,
of all things in creation, the principle of give and take action. Through the agency of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every entity which come out of God, express God, form a common base and enter into interaction. This interaction in turn generates the forces that every entity needs to exist, to reproduce, and to act. For example, proton and electron. Proton and electron establish a give and take relationship through electromagnetic chemical connection and form the foundation for a greater whole, an atom. Similarly, a man and woman enter into a love relationship and bear a child and form a family. Or, in everyday life, John Lennon and Paul McCartney came together, brainstormed, inspired each other, and wrote wonderful music. This is how life moves. All of the forces for existence, multiplication, and action are generated by the give and take action between subject and object. So universal prime energy facilitates a common base that allows interaction that create the forces for every entity to exist. This interaction, generating these forces through this process, we call give and take action. The fact is that nothing in the universe lives by itself or for itself. When we look in the natural world, we see that every system seeks balance, the balance between the predators in a particular environment and the prey. They will always seek a balance, the balance between high pressure and low pressure in a weather system, or the fact that plants provide oxygen for animals. Animals return carbon dioxide for plants. Plants become food for animals, and the animals, when they die, fertilize the soil and produce new growing plants. We can find throughout the creation this ecological balance, each ecosystem seeking that through harmonious relationships. Now look at the human body. Within our body, the same thing is true. Our fundamental vital systems operate through give and take relationship. For example, we inhale and we exhale. In addition, we assimilate food, and that food goes to every cell in our body, while the waste that comes back is then dissimilated. Assimilation and dissimilation. Our circulatory system, the arteries carry the oxygen and food to every cell and bring back the waste and gas. Now, every system operates this way. Our muscles, we have a voluntary and an involuntary system, and our muscles work in pairs. One contracts while the other relaxes to accomplish most of our actions. Similarly, our nervous system, we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. Look at our face. We have two eyes rather than one, so that these two comparison points give us depth perception, because two different points are comparing in the brain constantly. That allows us to kick a soccer ball, or to step up on the curb when we're walking, to balance and harmonize, to dance, to move in a coordinated way. And our brain is making thousands of calculations constantly through reciprocal give and take relationships. We have 2 ears rather than 1, so that we can tell not only the distance of a sound, but its direction, as the brain immediately compares how the 2 different eardrums receive the decibels. And there are example after example after example in the human body. But let's look at human society, and we can again see the principle of give and take action, that nothing lives by itself. What is a good society? It's where relationships are harmonious and healthy. Husband and wife, parent and child, brother and sister, friend and friend, teacher and student, government or leadership and people, employer, employee, etc. A harmonious society is one where there's good reciprocal relationships that begin with giving. It's not take and give or take and take, but give and take. And this principle is also enshrined in the scriptures. The Bible says that wherever 2 or more are gathered in his name, he will be in their midst. And Jesus said, ask, and it will be given. Knock, and the door will be opened. Seek, and you will find. Likewise, Jesus said, by the judgment you pronounce, you'll be judged. And the measure you give is the measure you will receive. Next, let's consider the principle of origin, division, union, action, and the process by which all beings come into existence. The process in which out of God, the origin, 2 entities are separately manifested and reunited into oneness by making a common base, having give and take action, and bringing about a new being is called origin, division, union, action. And it's the process by which all beings come into existence. Let's consider then the next step. As a result of origin, division, union, action, 4 positions are formed. God, the origin, the divided subject and object partners that express his dual characteristics, and the result of their relationship, a union. These 4 positions then constitute the foundation for the fulfillment of that being's existence. Now, any one of these 4 positions may assume the position of the subject partner and engage the other 3 as its object partners, forming a communion of 3 object partners. For example, God, of course, loves, cares for, and invests in each of the other 3. And yet God will also respond to the needs, desires, or situations of each of the other 3. Likewise, a man may feel responsible to lead and protect and take responsibility for his family. But a mature man, a mature person, knows how to, recognizes that every relationship, every couple is unique. And a mature man knows how to listen to his wife when necessary, how to allow her to lead in the areas where she is strong. And every relationship is a dynamic one and involves not only husband and wife, but can be sometimes mother and son, or father and daughter, or brother and sister, etc. And finally, a child, of course, is an object toward its father, mother, and ultimately the Creator. But also, when that child is in need or has a desire or expresses itself, parents will respond, as will God through them. So here we see these purposes of 3 objects for each of these beings. So let me summarize. When each of the 4 then acts as the subject partner and enters into give and take with the other 3 revolving around it, they fulfill the 3 object's purpose. When the origin, therefore, and the subject and object partner projected and their union fulfill these 3 object purposes, a foundation of 4 positions is established: God, subject, object, and union. This foundation of 4 positions is what every form of life in the universe strives to achieve and is defined by. So the foundation, the 4-position foundation, is first of all the root of the principle of 3 stages. Because this comes about through origin, division, and union, we will see that there are 3 stages in the development of life, which we'll talk about later. And the number 3 is expressed in the nature of our reality in the universe in many ways. We'll talk about that. Secondly, the four-position foundation is the root of the number 12, because as each of the four takes on 3 object partners, then 12 object partners are created. The four-position foundation is the fundamental foundation of goodness and the realization of God's purpose of creation. It's how each being fulfills its purpose and reflects God's nature and ultimately achieves goodness by achieving the four-position foundation. It's the fundamental foundation for the life of all beings, providing all the forces necessary for their existence. Therefore, we can say that the four-position foundation is God's eternal purpose of creation, because every being strives to achieve it. Now, in human life, what is this four-position foundation? God, man, woman, and child. It is the family. Not just any family, but a God-centered family. And so Jesus said in the 19th chapter of Matthew, haven't you read that from the beginning, he who made them male and female, and said, for this reason, the two are to become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. And what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. From the beginning, we're created male and female to realize this relationship and bring about new life. How can two bodies become one flesh? Only by producing a child, a union that reflects both of the parents. This four-position foundation, which in human life is the family, is God's eternal purpose of creation.
How often
Processes
Yes. Tampak. Hello? Did you hear me? Hello? What? Okay, thank you so much po for watching. So, narinig po ba ako? Hindi ko makikita.
Opo, narinig po kita.
Thank you po. Okay, so at this time po, so it's very clear po, no? So for the topic of the chapter 1, so the principle of creation. So for continuation po for our session for tonight, we have some questions here po. Question po. Okay. Wait lang. I will ask po, Ate Elsie,
Yes.
wait na po. May tanong po ate. Wait na po. If you be, wait na po. So may I ask po some reflections po from the that we watched earlier po. The video that we watched earlier. Sino po gusto mo na? From the Okay. Okay, may I ask po, Sir John, to give po some some reflection po from the video that we play earlier po. Welcome po, Sir John. Sir John Busto.
Jan Pastor po ba?
Opo, Sir John.
Isa lang po bang Jan dito? Hello po. Honestly, medyo nagarambol yung paano ba ito? Kasi may leaders meeting tapos so nakikinig din ako. Yung video po ba, yung lecture na what you mean?
Video po.
Yung video na presentation, yung lecture?
Opo, video presentation po. Yung last po na
Oo.
pinaplay.
It needs mastery to deliver such quality lecture. Especially pag matagal-tagal na tayo hindi naka deliver ng ganyang lectures, no? Mahirap gawin 'yon, yung ganung quality ng lecture. Kaya itong training natin, no? It's very timely. And medyo nawala din kasi yung mga lecturers natin na makapagbigay ng mga detailed lectures. Usually ang mga lecturers natin andun lang sila sa mga basic concepts, no? Yung ganung quality na na pag-deliver ng lectures, kailangan talaga ng concentration, thorough study, and yun, repetitive na na lectures, no? So I don't know kung paano natin gawin 'yon. Siguro one thing is meron tayong material, then we can do practice, not just a simple practice but gawin siyang condition, something ganon. If we aspire for such kind of quality, no, na pag-deliver ng lectures. And one thing also is mag-vary din kasi yung pag-deliver mo ng lecture. Sometimes it will depend on your participants, no? Kasi may mga as a lecturer, we don't just give lectures according to our own style, no? Sometimes when you say style, maybe sometimes may mga kino-consider tayo ng mga participants na kailangan natin minsan ibaba din yung ating level, no? So all of this, no, to serve different types of participants, still it needs practice, no? It needs practice. Kasi sometimes ito na yung standard ng lecture mo, but sometimes you have to lower in terms of maybe examples or mga sa language, ganon. And sometimes may mga challenges din, no, sa mga participants. So ano pa ba natin, ha? So I said, no, it's timely, no, na meron tayong ganitong training. And sana ma-elevate natin yung ating yung natin, yung ability natin to give lecture, no, for the sake of God's providence. Thank you po.
Yes, po. Thank you so much po, Sir Jan, for that insight po. So at this moment po, I would like to welcome po Ma'am MC Agustin po. Welcome po, ma'am. Nandiyan po ba kayo?
Opo, ma'am.
Yes, welcome
Good
po.
evening.
Good evening po.
Opo. Good evening. Nakikinig po ako. Maraming salamat.
Yes po. Could you please, ate, ma'am, give some reflection po, your insight po.
Okay. Sige po.
Yes.
Maganda po yung lecture. Bigay mo muna kay Dada. Wait lang po Sorry. Ayan. Sorry. Opo. Regarding po dun sa video and dun sa lecturer, okay naman po siya as a beginner. Through practice and yung connection when it comes to reading more and yung experience mo and what comes from your heart, may improve mo din po yun. Ngayon naman po regarding dun sa video, napakaganda po ng lecture ng video. So as a medical profession, professional, so nurse midwife po kasi ako, and also I'm also a faculty in the academy for how many years. So usually po pagka sa amin, no, yung mga estudyante, di ba, in the beginning po bago magbuntis, actually, di ba, hindi po natin alam kung babae o lalaki yung magiging anak natin. Ang sabi lang natin mind over matter yan, ma'am. Basta mahalin niyo yung asawa niyo, tapos kayong dalawa magmahalan, you do your part as beginning father and mother, enjoyin niyo po yun. Kasi upon the union pa lang ng inyong cells, nabubuo na po dun yung magiging bata. And then yung characteristics po, yung sinasabi nilang cell division, mitosis, meiosis, doon po yung characteristics from the genes nagagawa na po yung isang human being. So, kaya di ba may mga abnormal na parang lalaki pero para namang babae, meron namang lalaki para namang babae. Kasi sometimes the gene characteristic din nga po yun kung hindi nagtugma. And every people po has yung ating genetic makeup. So yung understanding ko po now, ngayon, dahil nga nandito ako sa Divine Principle, so medyo na ko po, naintindihan ko, ganun pala yun pag nagle-lecture ako. Kasi may mga tao na hindi sila nagkakaanak, katulad ko for 10 years, wala. So sabi ko, ano kayang kulang? But I still believe in myself na yun pala kasi hindi pa completely yung mature yung isip mo and everything and lahat, even yung body. Kaya po 'di ba pagka yung mga bata pa manganganak na mahirap kasi hindi pa fully mature yung body nila, hindi siya nag-coincide with the body and the mind. So pagka nagkaanak sila, baka hindi din nila alam kung paano. And pag nagbuntis sila, maraming mga complications. So yung negative and positive within the biological makeup ng tao, pwede rin yun. Ganun din po yun, halimbawa kung nagkasakit yung tao, di ba, pagka may sakit kaya halimbawa, nagkaroon ng manas, kasi yung positive and negative na mga electrolyte balances po natin, hindi magkatugma, yun po yung magiging sakit natin. Kaya yung mga doktor na pag nag-check up kayo, di ba, kinukuhanan kayo ng blood chem. Sabihin, ito po ang resulta ng ng inyong mga laboratory. Mataas po ito, negative ganito, positive ganyan. So, dito ho natin titignan kung ano ho yung gamot na kailangan. Pero ang sasabihin ng doktor, pero kung kakain pa rin po kayo ng ganito, hindi nyo ho babaguhin yung attitude nyo, babalik at babalik po yun. So, kumbaga sa po, hindi din nagtugma. Ay, nawala. Sorry. Hello? Nawala ako.
Andyan po ate yung camera
Ay,
niyo
ano
lang
ba?
po.
Sorry. Sorry po.
Camera lang.
Ayan po. Hindi po. Ang dami ko pong sinabi. Sorry. Gusto ko lang pong i-share po ito para sa susunod na yung walang idea is malaman nila. So, ganun po yung nangyayari. Hindi po yung ating pangangatawan. Kaya minsan nga po, di ba, yung mga may sakit, hindi nila naintindihan kung bakit sila nabigyan ng sakit. So, minsan yung spiritual sense or may family stress or sa work related, nakakaano din po yun. So, hindi nagtugma. Kaya kailangan is i-improve po yun. So, papaano po yun? So, spiritual sense so siguro po, di ba, humingi tayo ng tulong sa Diyos. And then later, if God-centered people tayo, kung may sakit tayo, minsan gumagaan yung pakiramdam natin na nahi-heal tayo. Tapos nagbabago yung ano natin, attitude natin kasi nga may sakit tayo. And then eventually, hindi natin mamamalayan po as times goes by na na-accept natin na ganito, ganyan. And then pag nagpa-check up tayo, you're healed because you're with God. So, lahat po talaga nanggagaling sa Kanya according din to dun sa lecture. Di ba? Meron pong mga testimony na gumaling because of the cancer. Naging ano sila yung hope na pwede palang mawala yan with your God's grace. Yung mga hindi nagkaanak sila dahil alam nila na they have faith. So, nagtugma din po later after 10 years yung kanilang mga cells and with God's grace dahil matured na din sila and they understand yung husband and wife. So, nagkaroon po sila ng anak. Yung iba naman po, meron din na yung sinatawag na masculinity and femininity. So, may mga tao na nagiging, yun nga po, so sad nga, ang dami ko pong nasabi, sorry. Merong mga, di ba po, yung mga gay issues and yung mga samahan ng mga ano tao dito po, LGBTB. So siguro kung marinig po nila yun na ang pagiging tao is coming from God, na meron talagang feeling nila babae sila pero lalaki naman sila, or babae sila pero lalaki, or trapped in a man's body. Sasabihin ng mga psychologists, sige, kung which one is you prefer, ito ang gagawin natin. So siguro, it is because of science, no? Kaya lang, science without religion is parang failure. Kasi nga, magkakapera sila pag nagka-operation sila. And later on, what will happen? Pagingin ng isang tao sa salamin, parang hindi na ako yan. So, yung soul na hindi niya na makita. So, parang search of wandering, ano siya. You can only find peace with God if you're both internal, so yung body mo, na-accept mo, babae ako, kasi yun ang bigay ni God. And so my body is yung katawan mo, external. So if only we are obedient with what God has given us, magkakaroon ka ng peace. Ganun din yun kung mag-asawa, lagi gaaway. So kasi mas magaling yung asawa niya babae, yung lalaki walang trabaho. Because siya yung kumikita, ganon. So, kung may give and take, you also fulfill as a mother and respect your husband. Ganun din yung husband niya, i-appraise niya yung asawa niya. Siguro if they have the harmonious relationship, magiging maganda. So, you will have a blessed family. And so, if you have a blessed family, you will have a fruitful life with your kids, and then later, makikita po ng mga bata yun when they have their children na ganun din po, magiging mabuti po. So, there will be peace on earth. And start po sa iyong family and then community. And yung sa ano naman po, existence of the nature, marami po kasing mga sakit, di ba, ngayon na hindi nagagamot. So, meron silang tinatawag na sa alternative medicine, yung healing, by the use of yung mga plants, yung hindi pagkain ng mga bawal ng mga animals. So, if we only know this knowledge, nakikita naman po natin yan sa mga commercial, yung you have to know yung how to be healthy, wellness. So, kung siguro lahat ng tao is malalaman nila yung role nila, how to keep healthy, magtanim, mag-alaga, so magiging maayos yung ano natin, give and take. Ika nga po. So, yun po. Yun lang po masashare ko. Ang dami. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Opo.
so much po, Ma'am
Okay, thank you.
Emslem
Salamat
po
po.
for that insight and very clear po.
Okay, thank you.
Yes po, welcome po. So, Sir Andy, you have some additional po.
So, hello, good evening everybody. And welcome to our session. So, kung titignan natin, based from what we have listened from the divine principle, we can see the connectivity, makita natin yung connection ng bawat situation, bawat scenario sa buhay natin. And it's clearly being presented and being explained properly the interaction ng mga bagay nung sa ganun it will be resolved in a way that it will be connected towards the original plan of God. Kasi, di ba, kung titingnan natin dun sa presentation is yun yung original blueprint. Yun yung pattern, yun yung design na meron tayo. Na ang ginagawa natin nangyari sa actual na sitwasyon is we go beyond the natural and then we wanted to follow yung mga individual perception or individual interpretation natin with things. Kaya nga ito yung ginagawa natin na ibalik natin yung original pattern, intindihin natin talaga yung pinaka-root, blueprint ng pagkatao natin nang sa ganun we can have a better way of living and then way of relating with one another. Kaya yun yung ini-express ni Ma'am Emsil na makikita natin na hindi kaiba yung mga nangyari sa atin sa daily life natin with the principle. Kaya nga, di ba? The divine principle will give us a clearer understanding of every situation that we have kung nandoon yung internalization, deepening ng understanding natin what's really the principle. Kaya nga yung sinasabi ni Father sa atin na divine principle is hindi yung book na binabasa natin, but it is the way of life that we have learned every time we study the divine principle. Ano yung nagbabago sa atin? Ano yung nagbabago sa sarili ko na I am connected to a better way of perceiving things, better way of understanding things, not to insist kung ano yung nakasanayan ko, not to insist kung ano yung kinalakhan ko, but I have to change it. I have to stop it in order for me to develop a better life. Tama po ba? Does it make sense po? Adyo po ba? May adyo po ba tayo doon?
Adyo.
Kaya importante na dito pa lang sa chapter 1, maintindihan na ito yung pinaka main pattern ng buhay natin. Bago pa man nagkaroon ng iba't ibang scientific presentation of interpretation of our being, God had already presented to us a clear picture of who we are and what we should be and how we should live our life. Kaya nga 'di ba dun sa three purposes. 'Di ba? Yung kanina na present na three objective purpose. Hindi naman absolute yung positioning eh. Positioning is just a beginning point para sa ganun magkaroon ng order. But along the way, hindi na importante kung sino yung nasa position. Ang importante is how much we work together, how much we harmonize together to bring substantial offering na makita yung personality ni God, ma-perceive ng bawat isa sa atin yung personality ni God dito sa mundo. Kaya ang dami nagsabi na napaka ng divine principle, pero sobra kasing ang tinitingnan kasi natin yung sobrang taas. Hindi natin nakikita yung basic. Na kung titignan natin, the basic is more important than yung mga advanced na Kasi kung hindi mo naintindihan yung basic, how can you understand? How can you transform advanced things? Adyo po ba? Kaya actually, tinatanong nga nila ako bakit kinakailangan na yung gamitin yung manual. Bakit kailangan basahin yung manual? Lahat naman tayo dito hindi ganun ka-equip with the principle. And that's the beginning point. Yun yung starting point na maging aware tayo. Ano ba yung composition ng divine principle? Nasanay tayo sa lecture na free verse. Kung anong gusto mong sabihin, you can give. Pero is that the really main point of the principle? Kaya we are starting a new model of presenting na based on true parents, based on the divine principle itself. Okay. Kaya nga yun yung ginagawa natin ngayon. Kaya yung first batch, second batch, yun yung talagang they really needed to study thoroughly kung ano yung mga manual na ginagamit natin. Kasi we have to be aware. Ano ba yung mga basic principle ni God? Ano ba yung basic principle na binigay sa atin ni Father? And then pag maging aware na tayo, maging part na ng buhay natin yon. Yung nga sabi ni Sir John kanina na Hindi mo na kinakailangan na ng ng mag-isip pa ng ano, ngunit it will be naturally. Kasi it is already a part of your life. Adyo? Kaya importante na even yung condition natin before na basahin natin 100 times, it is not just to read it. Pero ang vision ni Father during the time na sinabi niya yun is, you have to embody it. You have to feel it into your heart. Na bawat salita ng divine principle, this is a way of life that I should have. And I must change kung ano yung nakasanayan ko kasi ito yung new way. And this is what we are trying to do now in this training. Okay? We will be adept kung ano talaga ba yung ano ni Father, kaya we'll start na ang focus muna natin lalo sa mga baguhan ngayon is we'll just be focusing of what's really the principle. Ano ba yung nilalaman ng principle? Ano ba yung nakapaloob sa principle? Pagbasahin natin yung dual characteristics, ano ba yung within it? Ano yung principle within it? Is it just a interaction between positive and negative? Or there is a mutual connection na they should live for the sake of each other with 100% intention of giving with each other. And that's really important na we have to feel. Hindi natin yun makukuha kung basahin lang natin. Pero pag internalize natin yung babasahin natin, di ba? Magkakaroon ng deeper essence, magkakaroon ng deeper value, magkakaroon ng deeper meaning. Does it make sense po? Aju? Kaya it's really important na we have to really start from the very basic. Okay? Kaya nung tinanong ko, bakit kailangan pa nilang basahin yung divine principle? Hindi naman yun hindi naman yun sinasabi ni Father na pag-training. Pero, if you will be asking, have you really understood the principle? Have you memorized the principle? Have we memorized the principle itself? Diba doon nga sa presentation natin, sinasabi ni Father doon sa how to become a lecturer? Diba? Ano yan? Merong tinanong din sa Father, if you will be asked, what is the content of this page? Can you say what is in it? The fact that you have already read multiple times, can you say it? And can you explain the principle behind it? Aju? So I hope now with that we could really come up into a point of we can start all over again. Kaya nga nung time na i-realize na ganun pala dapat yung free verse na presentation na yung nakasanayan natin na 'di ba sa level 4 even sa yung mga ginawang lecture before na mga PowerPoint. Although meron dun yung sense, pero ano dun ba talaga yung mga word na dapat na ibigay natin? And eto yung difference itong gamit nating manual ngayon. Kaya why do we need to study the manual from 1 hour up to 10 hours? Para sa ganun maging familiar tayo with the real theme or kung ano talaga yung na-receive ni Father. Nang sa ganun hindi natin ma-involve yung sarili nating interpretation kasi mangyari niyan, we will be misleading the people. Instead of giving them the truth, we will just giving them what we know. And giving them the knowledge of what we understand based on our own interpretation of the Bible. Aju? So, yeah, it's really important na we have to hindi natin kailangan maging the best. Ang kailangan natin is maging equipped tayo and maintindihan natin yung heart ni God. Because from that, we will not only be the best, but we can give our best. So, yun lang muna for the moment. Anyway, marami pang mag-share. So I hope na with that we have you have learned something and we have to ponder something na para sa ganun really ma-challenge tayo to discover more. What more? Ano pa ba yung mas marami pa na dapat nating maintindihan nang sa ganun we can give life to others. So, yun lang po. Good evening.
Yes. Thank you so much po, Sir Andy, for that very enlightenment of the chapter 1. So at this moment po, let's proceed for the sharing po. So first po, may question po dito. If you will be given the chance to share the presentation, how would you present? How would you present? So yun siya, ang first nga na po na tanong. So may I ask po, Ma'am Elsie?
Same presentation.
Yes
I
po.
will, okay, I will present it again. Maybe more internal, based on sa presentation kasi it's yun yung sinasabi nga blueprint. That is the desire of God, and then that is the heart of God, why He created the universe. Pero yung sabi nga ni Brother Randy, nung mga lecture kasi dati, based lang din sa experience ko. Pag chapter 1, we emphasize the heart of God. But then sometimes na medyo wala na doon sa ADP. Kaya I also aware na hindi ako pwedeng kaya hindi ako pwedeng magsalita ba na based doon sa emotion ko, understanding ko about God. Kaya I prefer to na lang, basahin yung ADP. At then yung input noon, yun na lang yung emotion ko doon ko na lang ini-input. Kasi I have to be aware na ganun, di tayo pwedeng mag-interpret with our own interpretation, but maybe we have to na lang emphasize the in the future if I have a chance to give a presentation again. So we really need to embody the heart of God, expressing about the dual characteristic and the nature of God, why He created the universe and the human being. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Ma'am Elsie po, Providencia. So, next po, may I ask po, Sir Jan Bastol, for the same question po from from Elsie.
The question is, again, if given a chance to deliver such a lecture,
Yes po.
and then how could I present it? Parang ganun po.
Opo.
Well, as I said earlier, I need to really study it well. Especially napakaganda naman po ng mga model lectures natin. Pwede natin silang sundan. Pwede natin gayahin for the sake of training. And then i-master natin yung mga outline. And then repeatedly, kailangan natin i-deliver talaga ang lecture. Kasi every time you give lecture with different types of listeners, ikaw mismo na lecturer, you're also learning from your own way of giving lectures. Kaya kung ako pag bigyan ng chance to deliver such lecture, I prefer to study it well first. Kailangan kong basahin repeatedly and then i-lecture ko siya, i-practice ko siya, and then i-wider ko yung kumbaga yung knowledge by, of course, kailangan mo rin mag-research. Diba? Kailangan mong intindihin yung word. Kasi sometimes may mga words na kailangan mong maintindihan kung ano yun siya, so that you can speak it well, no? So that you can deliver it well. So not only sabihin natin for the sake of this discussion, but give it a chance really. No, I want to avail this opportunity to have that kind of material, and then once I have it, so as of course as my desire to give lectures and my vision also to become a good lecturer, and then I will really read it, study it well, and then repeatedly give it lectures. Kahit wala kang participants, pwede ka mag-practice, diba? Or practicean mo yung brothers and sisters. Practicing while giving them educations. So, that's all siguro, masabi ko, no? I prefer to deliver it well by first preparing myself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Sir Jan, for your insight po. For next po, I would like to ask si Ma'am. May I ask po, Ma'am Jane Rose. Same question po, ma'am. Welcome po, ma'am.
Hi. Ano po, last time I practiced lecture is maybe more than 20 years ago. Nung estudyante pa ako. So, I always, pag meron kaming mga practice lecture noon, I always escape. So, hindi ako talaga natuto mag-lecture po talaga. Then, so after my graduation, ayun, nag-F1 ako international. So, wala na akong time na nag-lecture talaga. So now, nanginginig na ako. Sorry. Yung nervous ko talaga yung medyo mahirap ko overcome. Kaya hindi ako makapag-lecture siguro noon. But para sa HCM, kailangan na talaga mag-practice ngayon. That's all. Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Tutulungan ka namin dyan, Jin.
Thank you po, Kuya.
So, dito we will be giving you chance to give lecture na isipin mo is mas alam mo yung material kaysa kami. Although, that's a big challenge, pero that's one way of overcoming your fear. No worry. Lahat naman dito is we will give you a chance. Kung ano yung kaya mo lang, hanggang saan yung kaya mo, you can do it. Okay? And we will help you. We will help, lahat kami dito will help you to go beyond that.
Thank you po.
Okay. Thank you so much po. So next po, I would like to ask, natawag ko ba si Ate Ma'am Emsil Agustin? Ma'am Emsil.
Yes, ma'am. Opo.
Yes po. Same question din po.
As,
New question
okay
po.
naman. Okay naman yung delivery niya. Kasi he's not expert. So he's just following the outline. It's okay naman po. May tip is that after your lecture, if you want your audience to know if they understand or what you have in mind to share, yung objective nyo na to give the audience the message of the God's words is that you can ask them and then initiate nyo yung what they feel. So you can have a connection with your audience. And then you can let them see how they feel with your lecture. Kasi sometimes you are just the I mean the object, so that a person will touch those God's words that you say. So yung if yung connection na yon, the way you talk, yung feelings pa lang, even if you don't share or anything, kasi that's a magic word, no? If somebody hear that magic word, automatically mai-stop yan kung ano man. So kailangan yung divine intervention. So when you present, you pray wholeheartedly and make it sure na you can give your presentation with a divine intervention, so that this person or these people na who come in this gathering, ma-share nila yung blessing. Kasi yun lang yun, di ba? Pagka nag-preach si Jesus Christ, is this, nagsasabi lang siya ng words, parables, and then people will come and they listen. So if God sends you to do this, you will have the grace na to speak out. You will have the gift of the tongue. And then malalaman mo na lang na, "Okay, I'm doing what I have to do." So yun po yung ating especially now na pandemic, kailangan na marinig ito ng mga tao. So ayan na, binigyan na tayo ng blueprint, tama po yun. So ang kailangan na lang natin is mismo yung nagpe-present na sana we have this divine intervention, so that every word that comes from our mouth, even without saying anything, just that magic word, mata-transform na yung tao. 'Di ba? Parang ganun po yun eh. So, wag po kayong mawalan ng pag-asa. Basta parang artista lang yan eh. 'Di ba yung mga artista, nag-aano lang ng script yan, pero ang daming natatouch. Minsan naiiyak yung iba, feel na feel nila. Pero yung artista naman, hirap na hirap silang memorize ng piece nila, 'di ba? Lalo na yung mga Korean drama, talagang feel na feel ko yan, 'di ba? Pero pagdating, tapos na. So sila din, hirap na hirap dun sa kanilang script. So ang pinaka-ano natin dito is paano, yan. So paano natin maaano talaga na may puso. So dapat maging artista tayo siguro, pero with God's 'di ba, divine intervention. Yun lang po. Ako din minsan hindi na rin ako tumitingin sa salamin, kaya pag magle-lecture ako dati, naku, time ko na, paano ba yun? So, gagawin ko na lang yun, tapos magbe-pray ako. So, ganun din po tayo. Kasi ngayon, tayo na member dito. So, dapat at least po siguro tayo. So, siguro kung if we have connection din as members, then later on, masasabi na natin kung ano yung gusto nating iparating, so that we will have all connections and we can fulfill our responsibility na binigay sa atin ni God to spread the good news. Yun lang po, and good luck po sa mga lecturer. Thank you.
Yes. Thank
What
you so much.
if you will be given the chance, ma'am, to present? Like, for example, next meeting you will be presenting.
Ay, naku, lagot.
How
Ako po,
would
sir,
you present it? Opo.
siguro the way na I understand it, since I'm just a new member, and sabi niya naman po, okay lang na kung ano yung tanong ko. So, medyo confident ako. Pero pag in siguro in a big place, on a big crowd, meron na po sigurong magic yun. Ganun po. Kasi before, during my younger age, siguro kasi ako career orientation. Di ba po, may ang daming mga estudyante, yung mga magpo-fourth year para mag-enroll sa isang school. So, sabi, ma'am, ikaw na magsalita. Kailangan ma-convince mo sila na pumasok sa school natin, sa dami-dami ng school. Dati pa po yun sa sa isang school ko na hinahawakan. So, kumbaga, new pa lang ako na hindi pa ako pro. So, sabi ko gano'n, sige ako, paano ba yun? So, yung iba, maraming mga palabok, ganyan. So, sabi ko, paano kayang gagawin ko? Ganyan. Anihin mo na, so mag-prepare na lang. Tapos maya-maya, nata-transform na, naging artista na ako. Tapos sabi, paano tuwan-tuwa ng mga estudyante. Tapos dumami naman yung enrollment namin. So, ayun po kasi kailangan ko ng trabaho. Bata pa ako. So, siguro ngayon kailangan na po natin masave yung pundo kasi alam na po natin yung nangyayari. Ako po kasi based on my personal view, sa dami na rin nangyari sa akin. So, because of this, yung mga lectures, yun yung pagkakaintindi ko. Kaya gusto ko rin i-share na na-transform ako even na hindi ako sinabihan. So, yung blessing nandoon. Ganun po yung dating sa akin. So, yun po. So, kung bibigyan din ako ng chance na mag-lecture, sasabihin ko din yung binasa. And then siguro, I will share some of my transformation. Yun po. Para yung iba is magkaroon din naman ng positive, sana positive po na reaction and then ma-spread nila yung good news sa mga tao. Yun po. Thank you. Yun lang, sir. Hello. Ayun.
Yes po. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Emsil.
Thank you. Sige, salamat po. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome po. So next po, from, may I ask po, open, Ma'am Sylvia. Ano po, same question po, if you will be given the chance to share the presentation, would you present? Yes po, yun po.
Almost foremost po pala is good evening po sa ating lahat. Kuya Sir Randy, Sir Herwin, Mama Nins, Ma'am MCL. Yeah, I saw Doc G is on the YouTube. Sa lahat po ng ating mga participants, Ate Jen Rose, Ate Elsie, good evening. Kuya Jan. Yeah, I saw na Kuya Jan give lectures back when we were still younger. Yeah, I think so. Ewan ko kung naalala niya yan. But I saw him back in business department. So he was one of the aspirant to give lectures. I don't know what happened, but after that, but yeah, I'm so inspired with his presence. Thank you, sir, for coming here in UPTA and for expressing your intention to join us. Yeah. Ako naman po, ako po yung tipo ng tao na siguro hindi masyadong organized. Though I have the tendency to, very sad, this is the reality of my life na I have the tendency to overthink and to convey what I have understood, which is naman from the way that I have understood through the mentorship of our mentor, Dr. Randy, na we cannot, giving the words of the divine principle, we cannot interpret it in our own way kasi I have the tendency to oversay a lot of things, but rather we should stick to that blueprint, yung na-approve po na template ng ating true parents, because this is absolute. And yeah, even if we may just read it, as I had been hearing it over and over, and I think it has been proven na kahit basahin lang natin ito, if katulad nung gusto kong hiramin yung sinabi ni Ma'am Emsel na if we will really be able to create a base for Heavenly Parents to work through us, kahit basahin lang natin yan, everyone can get inspired po talaga. So, I'd rather be just reading it, and hopefully I would improve more on just reading it and give few example, not so many, because I have the tendency to give so many examples like I want everyone to understand it, but I already have forgotten that I am already desiring to make them understand according to my own understanding, which is not right. So yeah, given the opportunity, I rather be just reading it and cite only one or two real life examples, and for it to become more tangible and hard to stick in a way because it's your own personal experience. Yun lang po. I think that would be it. But honestly, I'm still working on it. Yeah, thank you so much po.
Yes, thank you so much po, Ma'am Sylvia, for that insight po. The next po, may I ask Ma'am Relina Tulendo to give some same question din po. Unmute po, ma'am. Yan.
Good evening po.
Evening.
So, if I am given the chance to to present the same content, how will I do it? So, na-inspire ko dun sa pag-present ni Dr. Hendricks. And then, I would also follow yung sabi na-inspire ko dun dahil ang una niyang ginawa kasi ganun. Una muna, parang nag-reflect muna bago paano sagutin mo sa is that he read the text, di ba? From the manual, di ba? Parang read niya parang three slides and then after that, nag-explain siya. Diba? Yun, nag-explain siya. And then, read na naman siya. Actually, ang galing niya mag-read Parang ganun. Parang kanya yung words, pero sa totoo lang, he's reading the text, di ba? Pero yun, exactly, he is doing, parang disciplined na siya parang gano'n. According to the guidance of Father, that you read di ba ang guidance, how to become a divine principle lecturer using yung approved text ni Father, is gano'n. Una is that you should read it, parang ganon. And then, yun. And he is, parang disciplined na siya. Yung controlled na niya. Right? Following the guidance and direction and instruction of Father on how to give the divine principle. And then, nag-explain siya according dun sa and then magbabasa na naman siya. So, siguro yun, I will try to be that disciplined and so if I'm giving the I would follow such example of Dr. Hendricks, and then also I would try to control myself not to give so much interpretation of my own. And then, just like any other lecturer, parang gano'n, yun yan. Nagkakaroon tayo kasi minsan ng na-overwhelm kasi tayo. So, nakakalimutan natin na ang dami na nating binigay na example. And then, nakakapag-concentrate. Kasi yun yung problem ko. Minsan nagko-concentrate ka na sa isang slide, tapos dami pang slides, and then ang dami mo pa palang slides, tapos kulang ka na sa oras. So, yun. So, and yun. Kaya yun. Kaya naubusan sa oras. Kasi nga, yun. So, I would follow I would try to follow yung example niya yun. Kasi doon ako na-inspire ngayon. And then, mabawasan ko yung wala naman, kasi sabi naman talaga ni Father, hindi naman masama na babasahin mo talaga. As a trainee, although graduate na kami, pero we are still trainees of how to graduate na kami dito sa Universal Principal Training Academy. Pero sa totoo lang, where I still consider myself a trainee. So, marami pa akong aaralin, marami pa akong i-discipline as per instruction, and as we look at other good, di ba sabi isa sa mga guidance, yes, read and read the divine principle, listen to lecturers, tapos magbasa ka ng divine principle ng ano, magbasa ka ng divine principle ng malakas, o di ba? Ayun. So you need to yun. So I would I still need to do that more of that ano ba yun? Instruction and guidance na sinasabi kasi hindi ko pa naman talaga reading the divine principle, yung mag-practice lagi kahit wala naman, hindi ko pa siya way of life. So I would siguro mas magpa-practice pa ako lalo, parang gano'n. And each time na ito yung tinatry ko na ginagawa ko ngayon, kahit na every time na may chance talaga na magbigay ng lecture, I will try to participate to give that lecture para ma-practice din tayo sa live audience. Live audience in the sense na whether it is online or face to face. Pero karamihan ngayon, online pa rin tayo, virtual pa rin tayo. So yun. Gusto ko nga dun sa sa 7 days nga, pag okay naman yung schedule ko, actually nahihiya lang ako sa pero kung pwede lang ilagay ko lahat ng pangalan ko sa lahat ng araw parang ganun. Pero parang ang takaw-takaw ko naman. Parang yun. Nililimit ko lang yung sarili ko sa sa 3, parang gano'n. So, and then, ginugulo ko yung iba, parang kung napapansin nyo, ginugulo ko talaga ng iba, na, wala pang lecturers sa ganito, ganyan. Kaya lang talaga itong week na to, pasensya na po, talagang, hindi talaga lalo na yung day 2, day 2, naka-schedule ako, tapos di ko nakapagbigay ng lecture kasi na-overwhelm ako dun sa namin, sa meeting namin. So, I would like to apologize for that. Na hindi ko, yung pangako ko, hindi ko nagawa. So, yeah. Yeah. Kaya nagsabi ako kay Sir Herwins and UPTA, UPTA colleagues na, hindi, I'm in trouble. Sabi kong gano'n. Hindi ko siya magawa. I don't think ready ako. Parang gano'n. So, yun po. Pero, given the, I would try to follow the example of Doc Henriques na, na to be well disciplined with the, read the principle first and principle first about yun yung napansin ko sa kanya, tatlong slides lahat yung binid niya and then paliwanag siya and then ganun siya. So, magpaliwanag siya based on his own words. Yun. Pero parang kasi, ang ginawa niya kasi, na-emphasize niya na yung in-emphasize niya una with his beautiful reading na parang kanya, di ba? Tapos, na-emphasize na niya yung gustong yung iparating ng principle, ito yung principle, parang ganon. And then, nagpaliwanag siya, parang ganon. Pero yun nga, giving emphasis talaga dun sa what is in the manual. Tapos yun yung kailangan kasing parinig ng tao. Yun yung kasi yung powerful Yung words ni God as revealed to the Reverend Samuel Moon, our true father. Yun naman kasi talaga yung divine principle, di ba? Ito yung words ni God na binigay kay true father na sinare naman sa ating father through the DP na consolidate, di ba? So yun lang po. Salamat po.
Yes. Thank you so much po, Ma'am Relina. So don't worry po, marami pa po tayong mga seminars po na darating. So, yun. Yun po. So next po, I would like to ask po from our elder brother, Sir Julius. Nandyan po ba kayo? Sir Julius. Welcome po. Same question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening sa lahat na bago also. Ano nga ang question, Munens?
Ito po sa chat box po kayo. Ito po. If you will be given the chance to share the presentation, how would you present?
personally, if I give it already, on hindsight, meron kang nakikita na kulang sa sarili mo, sarili mo na every time, ako ganun ako every time na I finish my lecture, after my lecture, nakikita ko, kulang, I have lacking on this part, explanation on this part. Kaya yung next lecture mo, na-feel mo na, then you receive another inspirations na nagde-develop yung yung lecture mo from the first. So constant practice yun nagde-develop hanggang sa may present ng yung sa gusto mong kasi we have a unique way of presenting. So na ma-satisfy mo yung sarili mo na okay na yung ginawa kong lecture. And with regards doon sa ano nga yung pangalawa? About
Introduction po.
yeah,
So, chapter 1.
we should other thing also, we should yung guidance ni True Father is that we should create a framework for our lecture. So gaya ng sinabi ko, we have a unique way of presenting. Kaya yung manual minsan mayroong tendency na pwede nating, di ba, in our unique way, pwede nating i-adjust. So that is external. But internally, sabi ni True Father na if you lecture for 2 hours, you have to study more than that time or that length. And also we have to pray twice that length. So if 2 hours, meaning 4 hours kang mag-pray. Kasi sabi ni True Father, without doing this, you cannot influence your audience. Kasi we are giving life. So if we are giving life, we have that strong spiritual base through our prayer. Kasi we can influence through that our audience. So that is True Father's guidance. And doon sa lecture naman, nagkaroon ako ng reflection doon sa God is the subject who is the harmonious union of original internal nature and original external form, and also the not the harmonious, and on which also the masculinity and femininity are in harmony. So that's why we can understand yung sabi ni True Father that unity starts with the unity of mind and body and the unity of husband and wife. Because if we are to resemble God or Heavenly Parent, who is the harmonious of this original internal nature and original external form, meaning also we have this harmonious mind and body. That's the first thing, the fundamental. Then from that foundation also, because God has 2 sets of characteristics. So that is the first one and the more fundamental. The second one, the attributes, which is the original masculinity and original femininity. Meaning in our family, it is the unity and harmony between husband and wife. So, yun ang nagiging ko dun sa harmonious relationship na ni God na i-substantialize natin as we are created in His image and likeness. Kaya yun ang natin, individual perfection, unity of mind and body. Because we are to resemble God. And in that also, unity between husband and wife. The second sets of God's dual characteristics, masculinity and femininity, which is in harmony. I think that's all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Sir Julius po. Papabantas.
Meron pang isa pala. Sorry.
Yes po.
Yung relationship ng nung yung two sets, tapos yung attributes niya within each example. In our internal nature, we have these attributes of positivity and negativity. So na-reflect ko rin yan so that it creates balance, no? In our mind, yung positive aspect ng sa mind natin. Example, yung joy. So yung negative naman niya, to balance that, we have this also feeling of sadness. No? Tapos yung sa physical naman, aside doon sa physical features na mayroong feminine forms and masculine forms. Na-reflect ko rin, actually dati na to eh. Bakit yung right hand natin malakas? Bakit yung left mahina? Diba? So kung wala yung positive and negative aspects in our body, dapat lahat to parehas, diba? Pero dahil dyan sa negative and positive na kaya nagre-reflect din in our body, no? Attributes doon sa external form, which is God's naka-embed doon sa kay God. Siya yung siya yung reflection, siya yung cause ng natin nung when we are created, based on his dual characteristics. Kaya nag-reflect sa atin. Kaya isa din yan na reflection doon sa chapter 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much po once again kay Julius. Next po, for me po, short lang po, may realization po. So if I given a chance to present po, first, I will do yun nga, sabi ni Sir Julius earlier na from the True Father's Word, if ilan oras po yung lectures niyo po, like 3 hours, you should prepare 3 hours ahead of time. So, you should master your presentation at the same time po. Do research at the same time. Yun lang po yung ano ko po sa sa sarili. If I given the chance po. So, that's all. So, next po, I would like to ask some insight po and reflections. Yeah, yes, Sir Herwin Kalinawan po to give. Wait lang. Yeah, yes, Sir Herwin Kalinawan to give po reflections. Welcome po.
Good evening po sa lahat, especially Sir Randy po, and then the rest of the lecturers. I have just I have suggestion lang regarding in order for us to kasi napaka-important sa lecturing yung mastery of the subject matter. And pag alam mo yung sinasabi mo, meron kang confident. Pag hindi mo alam, parang mangyayari niyan, share create your own explanation regarding sa topic niyo. So, ang ginagawa ko dati is, napaka-importante basahin yung 12 hours, 10 hours, and 12 hours. Pag nag-aaral, ng first batch kasi, grabing todo yung pag-aaral. Doon lang ako nag-stay sa prayer. Tapos may 1 hour, may 3 hours, 12 hours. Wala kasi akong 10 hours na bro, TP. 12 hours, tapos Yung black book din, wala pa din ako that time. Yung tatlong yun, tapos kinukumpara ko siya. Ano yung wala dito na meron dito? Bottom line, sa 1 hour kasi, hindi siya masyadong detailed. Sum up lang siya. Which is mahirap siya mahirap siya in terms of diagram na. Very short lang talaga. Sa 3 hours naman, yun yung ginagamit po natin ngayon for giving lecture. Okay siya for presentation. Pero the way, the explanation of the 3 hours is dun po makikita sa 12 hours saka sa block. Kaya, I suggest na para maintindihan pa natin yung 3 hours, pag binabasa natin yung 3 hours, kailangan katabi mo yung 12 hours na idip. Doon po natin mas lalong maintindihan. Like for example, yung sinasabing object purpose. For me, I've heard a lot of lectures sa divine principle. Siguro tulog siguro ako na in-explain ang object purpose. But ang nasabi ko lang is I never heard an explanation regarding sa object purpose. Pero siguro, sabi ko nga, tulog siguro ako na explain yun ng lecturer, sigurado tulog ako na. Or di ko naintindihan. But then I studied the divine principle 12 hours. Doon ko mas lalong na-explain. Mas lalong naintindihan yung tinatawag na four-position foundation. Kasi merong subject, center, subject, object. Yun. And pwede pala siya mag-search in the name of love according to Father. Na ma-explain sa yung purpose. Which is tama talaga. Ayan, paano maging subject yung apo sa lolo, right? Mas matanda yung lolo kaysa apo. Pero in the name of love, pag sinasabi na ng apo na gusto nang sabi ni Father sa explanation ni Father, pag sinasabi ng apo na lolo, dito sa sungay sa Bisaya. Ba, dili dong ba. Wala. The grandfather has no choice but to follow his 1-year-old grandson. So the ano din is the communion of the three object purpose, where even the child can become the subject in the name of love. Yeah, we should not always forget that one. So yun po, yun lang po yung suggestion ko. I know based sa lectures din, marami pa pong may mga kulang pa po talaga in terms of screening. Ayun, so ano na po tayo, unti-unti na po tayong medyo himay-himay na po tayo. Nung una lang medyo okay yung evaluation, but for me, we have nakikita ko na yung there's more yun. Read more, study more, ganun po. Yun lang yung pang ma-advise ko. You have a lot of time for at least you have free time po the whole day. Yun kasi yung ginagawa ko eh. And then pag na-master na natin yung isang bagay, di ba? We are confident to share. And then you are happy ba? You're enjoying it. Kasi hindi mo alam. Dalawang isip ka pa. I've experienced that one already. Ayun po, yun lang po yung masasabi ko. Para sa next meeting po, maybe, hindi man tomorrow, maybe the next week and the other, or the following week. Iba na yung point of view natin sa introduction pa lang. Kasi sa 12 hours kasi, ang haba kasi na introduction. Sa 3 hours kasi. Pero sa 12 hours, pag-uusapan, even sa 12 hours sa introduction, may history. Short history. So, ayun. Ano ba? Ano yung pangalawa din? Sa
Yeah.
sa lecture?
Yun
Sa
lang
video?
video, pero ang focus po is yung how to give presentation. Yun siya.
I think yun yung sa akin po. Just keep reading po and keep studying the divine principle. Thank you so much po.
Yes, thank you so much po,
Ulit na
Sir
agad.
Herwin, for that. Okay, for ano po, for the final and last ano po, guidance po. Let's help me to welcome Sir Dr. Randy Ami. Welcome po, Sir.
Hello po, good evening to all. So, yeah, it's really important na we have to prepare well. We have to be equipped properly. Kaya nga sabi ni Father, it's not enough na we have only to read the principle. We have to read the speeches of true parents and also some other materials that can help us to understand more. Kasi kung titignan natin, yung binigay na principle ni God kay true parents, it's just the bone. Yun yung bone marrow, yung binigay. So nasaan yung mga outer bone saka yung mga flesh, saka mga skin. That is what we needed to discover and we needed to understand around us. Kaya nga we needed to join together yung internal, external, positive, negative, uh, ano pa ba? Man and woman, and at the same time human being and the rest of creation. Kasi from there we can really understand. Kaya nga even sa ano 'di ba? Even sa Bible, we can understand deeply the deity of God through understanding and looking at the whole creation as the result of His creative process. So all of these things, lahat ng mga to sa paligid natin, these are all the flesh, the skin, and even the bone that encloses the bone marrow. So what we have is only the bone marrow, yun lang yung meron tayo, centering on the principle. Pero para maintindihan natin yun, we needed to unlock many things more around us using the basic principle. Kaya nga kung titingnan natin, ang pinakamabilis na pwede nating pagkuhanan ng deeper understanding of how we should live our life is understanding what should be a family is. How should family act together, unite together, work together, and to establish a eternal relationship of a family. Kasi di ba ang nangyari is, after the fall, nagkaroon ng conditional ang relationship ng family. Napakaraming condition. Kaya hindi na ipasa yung true structure of a family after the fall. Kaya what we needed is we needed to go back. Kaya nga ang unang ginawa ni Father is to reunite the eternal characteristics of the family. And that is the greatest thing that was lost in the Garden of Eden. And how can we do that? It is understanding how everything in the universe is being interrelated, interconnected together to manifest in substance the image of God. Kasi 'di ba, sabi nga 'di ba nga sa presentation nga kanina, or even if we will read the principle, kung titingnan natin, 'di ba? We are created to become the image of God. Substantially. Human being, man and woman. Pero are we the only image of God? No, it's the whole universe. Right? The whole universe is the image of God. And lagi sinasabi ng mga expert, mga scientists, mga deep thinkers that they already know the universe. Pero it's not. Because the whole universe is being embedded in the relationship of the family. Adyo po ba? Does it make sense? Kaya kung titignan natin, kaya lagi sinasabi ni Father, di ba? Na saan ba tayo magsimula? If we wanted to really understand God's heart and God's principle, start by practicing living for the sake of others with utmost sincerity. Na yun yung pinaka-starting point, yun yung mga pinaka-beginning point. Na pagka mag-practice ka ng living for the sake of others, hindi mo naisipin kung may babalik ba o hindi. Ang importante is you just wanted to give because that's the basic na desire ng heart mo. Yun yung ikinaliligaya ng heart mo once you give. And then bonus na lang kung may babalik. Right? And that is the main content of every human heart. So these are the things that we needed to prepare. Kaya nga, kung titignan natin, we needed to study all the things around us. Pero kung titignan natin, pag naintindihan natin yung heart ni God, we can deeply understand everything. And we can have a clearer perspective or even clearer understanding of the things around us. Na hindi na lang natin siya titignan as a simple living organism, but it is a precious part of the puzzle na pag nawala to, hindi mabubuo ang buong universe. Does it make sense? Adyo po ba? Yeah. Kaya, saan ba tayo magsimula? Opening our heart. Opening our heart na intindihin natin, how can I practice a lifestyle of living for the sake of others? And pag sinabi nating living of the sake of others is, what can I give? Ano ba yung pwede nating ibigay? Diba? The only thing that we can give is the opportunity to embrace other people. Meron pa ba? Meron pa bang iba? Pag nakita mo nahirapan yung katabi mo, yung kapitbahay mo, at natap mo yung likod niya na, no worry, you're not alone. Madami tayo. Diba that's already a very big expression of the heart na nobody can explain how it can influence others. Kaya nga sabi ni Father, di ba, lagi sinasabi na, let's start with our heart. Our desire to give more, our desire to share more, and our desire to wanted to transform. Starting our heart, and then that's the time that we can transform others' heart. So it's really important na we have to go back. Kaya nga, laging yung sinasabi na magpa-pray, that's very basic na magpa-pray. Pero ano bang klaseng prayer meron dapat? Diba? It should be, yung prayer natin, it should be, Father, can you please use me? No other person can do this for you except me at the moment. Actually, yun din lang naman ang yun din lang naman yung pinapray ko pagka yung abruptly na sinasabihan ako, Kuya, pwede ka bang mag-lecture? Pwede ka bang ano? Kasi kung mag-ano tayo doon sa physical preparation, kumbaga, mangyari nun is magiging intellectual yung presentation natin. A divine principle is not only intellect, it is a composition of intellect, emotion, and will. The three faculty of a human being. Kaya natutuwa ako nung yung tanong kini Herwin, yung tanong sa inyo Herwin na kailan na-create yung sun, moon, and stars? Third day, di ba? And paano nakapag-produce ng food before that?
Sa creation, sir.
Sa creation. Di ba?
It was asked by a pastor.
So kung na-create yung sun, moon on the third day, nag-start ang creation is first day na wala pang sun and moon. Paano nagkaroon ng process of paano nagkapag-create ng food yung mga na-create na mga creation during the time? 'Di ba? Kung titingnan natin, parang napakaano na question, pero kung titingnan natin, doon natin maintindihan how the principle works. Kasi everything is being governed by the two characteristics. Kung merong photosynthetic, meron naman yung chemosynthetic based on chemical interaction. Yung sinasabi sa biological principle na abiotic sa biotic development. Na paggabi, nagkakaroon pa rin ng chemical interaction to produce food for the plants. And then it is further developed, nourished pagdating ng photosynthetic development after na lumabas na yung araw. Kaya dito natin makita na all of these things are being presented in the principle based on the interaction of the positive and negative and the dual dimension na create ni God dito sa mundo. Kaya doon natin makita that God is first and foremost the scientist. Adyo ba? Does it make sense? Di ba? So, yun yung kumbaga, pag maintindihan natin yung basic principle, most especially yung pinaka-basic na dual interaction of positive and negative, the interaction of which that will give us a vast understanding of how the universe is being operated based on God's guidance and purpose. Kaya ano mo doon is four position foundation, yun talaga yung magbibigay ng stable na relationship within the universe. From first generation, second generation, and third generation. Yun naman yung pinapresent ng science. Kaya kung titignan mo, walang difference between scientific theory and divine theory centering the principle. Ang ginagawa lang is binibigyan lang ng shell. Kumbaga yung divine theory is a form of a visualization, pero yung substantialization nandoon sa physical or scientific theory. And this is also part of the creation. Kaya nga, 'di ba? Sinasabi na human being and the rest of creation, ito yung whole image ni God. And this is the time that we can understand the universality of God. Na hindi lang si God yung based on one individual person or based on one distinct individual being, but it is composed through the interaction of every being that exists based on the things that He created. Does it make sense po? Adyo po ba? So kaya we needed to from the bone marrow, dapat maintindihan natin bones and even the flesh. That's why we needed to invite God. Kasi sabi nga, 'di ba, sa introduction, we cannot learn God's principle through reading kung ano yung mga nasa physical output. It's not enough. We needed to receive a revelation coming from God. Okay, it's really important that we have to make ourselves become the vessel of God, the heart of God, and even the mouthpiece of God. Kaya nga ang goal natin is not only to become a lecturer. Kasi pag lecturer ka, more on intellectual presentation. Pero pag educator ka, you wanted to bring something. You wanted to transform the heart of the people. So yun yung direction natin, yun yung goal natin na sa bawat isa sa atin, we wanted that we should become the trust of God and the trust of true parents. The hope of God and the hope of true parents. Kasi hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin, Father, pwede ka ba mag-lecture doon sa family ko? Kuya, pwede ka bang mag-lecture doon sa family ko? Okay. Pagdating sa advanced lecture, pwede yon. Pero pagdating sa mga basic interaction, para sa magkaroon ng initial connection sila kay God, sinong gagawa nun? Di ba walang iba kundi tayo? That's why we needed to learn. We needed to study and we needed to work it out together. Adyo po ba? So, yun yung natin, yun yung goal, yun yung purpose natin, yun yung direction natin, why we are here. Why we are doing all of these things, and why this UPTA is being established. Kasi, matagal nang nag-aantay si God, matagal na rin nag-aantay si true parents. So, pag-aantayin pa rin ba natin sila? Di ba? Hayaan pa rin pa ba natin na magmakaawa sila sa atin o tayo na talagang magsabi, Father, can you now take a rest? Andito kami. So, with that po, I hope na you have learned something for tonight and we can become a better mouthpiece of God and become the true educator of heart. Magandang gabi po.
Yes. Thank you so much po, Sir Randy, for that po, very clear po insights and guidance po. So, for tonight po, it's already past 10. So, last na po to kaya.
Final picture tayo.
Ay, okay ba? Okay. Please open your cameras po. Elders, brothers and sisters. Sure. Okay po.
Hindi naman halata, wala pa akong tulog, no? Hindi ba?
Okay. Tampo for a while.
Si Ate Sylvia,
Sylvia.
nagtatago sa picture niya.
From Sylvia. Ayan. Okay na po. Sa picture. Okay.
Ayun.
Okay, let's have our small heart, brothers and sisters. Small heart po. 1, 2, 3.
Sarang iyo.
Okay. One more. Next. Baragi Shinang po. Oo nga. Baragi Shinang, Hana Doset, smile. Okay. Last one po. Vision 2027. Together po. Sungni, Sungni, Sungni. Thank you so much po. Okay, for the closing prayer po. Sila na. May I ask Sir Jan Bastol.
Let us pray. Our precious heavenly parents, parents of heaven, earth, and mankind, we are happy because we have this chance, heavenly parents, to study your divine principle, to hear from our brothers and sisters words of inspirations, wisdom, words that can really enlighten our spirits, and maintain our connection to you. Our desire, heavenly parents, is to become a missionary that can really bring substantial result. By all means, heavenly parents, we want to really grab all the opportunities to really serve. By all means, heavenly parents, because we know we are your chosen people. Thank you for all these brothers and sisters, our leaders who are really initiating to really do something, Father, to advance the God's providence of restoration. Once again, thank you for your presence during our class, heavenly parents, and deep inside we want to really offer everything to you. Thank you so much for being good to us. Thank you so much for all the blessings and the happiness from the parents. Please be remembered, pray. We report this in my name, Jan Bastor, St. John Bastor of St. Jarvis and family. Aju.
Aju. Yes, thank you so much po. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, brothers and sisters.
See you po tomorrow.
Good night.
Tomorrow
Oh,
night.
good night.
Yes po, thank you so much po.
Salamat po.
Bye everyone po.
Maraming salamat po sa iyong donation.